I'm sure you've discovered this a long time ago with your work with athletes, but for me, it starts and ends with mindset.
Absolutely.
And the other thing I think is, I truly believe in second chances, that one event should not define you for the rest of your life. And it's exactly what you said, getting back up on the horse and trying it again. Because what we see a lot, I think, in the world is we see these really amazing, successful people, and we think they were an overnight success. They weren't. They worked it every single day, and they had a lot of failure, but they got up every day and said, you know what can I learn from this, and just move forward. And that's how they became who they are today.
Oh yeah, we love to rewrite history to only talk about the part where they rose. It's that
Yeah.
Hollywood moment. Life's not Hollywood. It's so much grittier. It's so much darker. There's so much more failure, and we rely so much more on each other than what they ever tell us in the movies. You don't just get back on the horse by yourself. There's someone there to pick you up, dust you off, and help you get back in the saddle. And that's where we fall down, I think, so often. I was just having a conversation with somebody about how we shame people for asking for help.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It breaks my heart when someone reaches out and the first response is to be shunned. And,
Right.
Imagine carrying that scarlet letter with you everywhere, which is what prisoners end up doing. So,
absolutely. Go ahead. Here,
I take that back to, my podcast of Imagine Fitting In, and this pilot, Kim, please keep your thought about when she mentioned those mindsets. So this topic I wanted to talk, we refer to as that expressive mindset and that visionary potential, in that as individuals, and again, I'm a big supporter of the arts as well as physiology and movement and wellness, is that if we're unable to voice out to ourselves, and hopefully comfortable enough out loud to those people that, as you mentioned, Eric, to help dust you off or get you back up and support that vision that you have. So I think it's critical, both from a standpoint of creating this structure and this march of people, of not to start to see what goes on other places, and that, we the people should be enough in numbers to create energy and flow, which I hope that this podcast, and Kim, you're doing it on the front lines of a deep place where people are not even thinking about that. And we're thinking on the front lines going, let's try to make sure some of these athletes that don't make it are not going to be end up where you're pulling them out from. So your thoughts, Kim?
Well, I think that, one thing, Eric, you said was about the impact that people don't think about in terms of community. But the truth is, when I take a look, if I take a step back and I take a look at the number of people who are incarcerated today, and then that's one issue. Then if I take a look at the number of people on every business out there that is not fully staffed. And what if we could bring those two things together, where employers would consider being a second chance employer, number one, and then we could start to fill the gap? Because you go into for example, you go into any restaurant, almost any business today, and they're still hiring. They haven't really recovered from COVID, which is one thing. And we have people who really want a second chance and who have really changed if they've taken advantage of programming. That's one thing. The second thing, I think, and this happens in teams when you're working with athletes, and it does take a village, but I will say that, my approach is very structured. And when I work with men in these maximum security prisons, it is a 6 to 9 month program, but it's through mentorship. It's through lived experience, and they have small groups of 4, and they start to open up and have conversations they've never had in their life, much less with a man, about things they're thinking about and the things that they would love to see for themselves and their families. And so to have a space that's safe, psychologically safe, to be able to share those things, I think is really important, or to ask for help. And a lot of times they've been disappointed many times, whether it's family or friends or somebody else. People talk a good game, but they don't really deliver sometimes. And so again, they're used to that. So when somebody comes in and says, there's another way, there's opportunity there. And I wish I had actually videotaped the last prison I was in, was doing work on visioning and mindset. And what they said out loud would just blow your minds about what they see as possible and that they can be the change for the future.
Wow.
Love it.
That
Love it.
level, right? That level of optimism from that point of view and that perspective and where they've been and humbled. And, I go back to that, thing that, Kim got excited about when I was mentioning the concept of that, my physiologically based program, balance awareness, cognitive engagement. She spoke about these people that had, never been able to express themselves in an open kind of forum, especially males. And when you know as well as anyone, Eric, that physicality of the sports competition, it is everything. And I can go anywhere and present. And there is not a woman, man, or child who does not want to get into a contest, who does not want to show what they got on a physical level, like, oh, I can do that, right? And there's such a level of connection, of just raw, like it doesn't matter where you're from, doesn't matter how much money you make, nothing matters. That humanity of just that human spirit of endeavor and competition, which we know in America, you got to have a thick skin, because you just spoke about the other countries, about how they care for society. And, this is this is the most competitive capitalistic place, freedom to, right? Manifest destiny, but boy, hold on. And, I think we become this source of such power that we almost lose sight of the humanity around what we have. And I think that all of our work is speaking from that to say there's more than just us that is talking about this, and know that in terms of, from Kim saying, these employers that need these bodies, that I think she mentioned a high percentage of the people, Eric, that come out of prison, they're going to be 97% are going to be coming out and living back in your community. Do you want to know that you've invested to try to have them come out and more formal experience? And Eric, shed some light on how your experience with young athletes and that competitiveness and that kind of environment opens up the gates to communication, and how you started your career and where you shine.
Well, one of the things I thought about it, and this is going to sound like I'm minimizing the issues with the prison system at first, but stay with me here on this one. Okay. So one of the issues I'm running into in sports is when you get to be about 13 years old, you quit. And you quit because you've been ostracized. You quit because it's become more about the winning than it is about the developing of the athletes. And what's happening as you get into high school sports, teams are having trouble just fielding rosters. Now, don't get me wrong. There are some big schools that are out there, and let's say they have a baseball team. They're trying to roster 22 kids, right? And they're going to have 75 kids try out. But there are also schools that need 22 kids for their varsity team, and they need 22 kids for their JV team, and they're lucky if 14 total kids show up. And so what's happened at those younger ages is we've shut down the communication lines. We've taken a position of authority over those kids, and we've said, I am the coach. You can't talk to me about your playtime. You can't talk to me about your training. You can't talk to me about your role on our team. And then they also minimize the value of the player. So let's say you have a late bloomer, undersized individual who really, really, really wants to be good. And they're working really hard, but their DNA hasn't produced the physicality yet to succeed. Well, now they're going to be pushed to the bottom of the roster. They're not going to be treated as an equal member of the team. They're not going to get the reps in games. It's not going to be fun. They're going to become demoralized, and they're going to walk away, and they're no longer going to be contributing when it comes to high school. And all of a sudden, that 12-man travel team that pushed them away, or rec team that pushed them away, is feeding to a system that no longer has enough bodies to fill it.
Through the tracks, through the soul, combinations of warmth and beauty beyond control. Feel the moment, feel the bliss, watchful seconds, holding more than this. Through the tracks, midnight glows.